What if the best way to solve a problem wasn't to try and fix a person, but to change the very game they're trapped in? That's what we're digging into today, a truly radical approach to therapy that does exactly that.
You know the feeling, right? That sense of being completely stuck in a loop with someone you care about, where you have the same argument again and again, and every attempt to fix things just seems to make it worse. It's frustrating.
Well, back in the 1950s, a team of really rebellious thinkers down in Palo Alto, people like Gregory Bateson and Don Jackson, they looked at that exact feeling of being stuck and said, hold on, maybe we're all asking the wrong questions. And what they proposed was a total shift in perspective.
And here's where it gets really interesting. They stopped digging into the past, asking why someone had a problem. Instead, they focused completely on the present. They started asking, how is this problem being kept alive right now in the way people are interacting with each other?
And that's the big idea right there, the core revelation of what became strategic therapy. It's not about a broken person, it's about a broken pattern. The focus shifts from what's wrong with an individual to the game the whole system is playing.
So if the problem is the game, then where is this game being played? Well, for these therapists, the main arena was the family. But they didn't see the family as just a collection of individuals. They saw it as a living, breathing system. Instead of seeing people in isolation, they saw this intricate web of relationships, where one person's actions or feelings or even their symptoms just inevitably ripple out and affect everyone else. It is all connected.
And what's fascinating is that these family systems are always trying to keep things stable. It's called family homeostasis. It's kind of like a thermostat for the family's emotional temperature. The tricky part is, sometimes a symptom in one person, like a kid acting out, might actually be the very thing that's keeping the whole system in a familiar, if painful, balance.
Now, to understand how this system stays in balance, you have to learn to speak its language. And trust me, that language goes way, way beyond just words.
One of the pioneers, Paul Watzlawick, put it perfectly with this little phrase. It's a core idea. You cannot not communicate. Every single thing you do or don't do is a form of communication. Silence, walking away, even just staring at the TV. It's all sending a powerful message.
This is where we get into the hidden layers. See, every time we say something, there are two things happening. There's the report, that's just the content, the literal words. But then there's the command, and that's the subtext. It's what your message says about the relationship itself, about power, and about the rules of your connection. So a simple statement like "I'm hungry" is almost never just about hunger. It's a little negotiation. And every response, whether it's "okay, I'll cook" or "it's your turn," is constantly redefining the relationship in real time. It's in these tiny little negotiations that our biggest conflicts get their start.
So what happens when we try to fix those conflicts but only make them worse? This brings us to one of the most powerful and honestly kind of mind-bending ideas in strategic therapy. Sometimes your solution is the problem.
Yeah, these therapists noticed that very often, the things families were doing to solve a problem were the very things that were keeping them stuck. These well-intentioned, more of the same solutions, like nagging more or withdrawing further, they just pour fuel on the fire.
And this distinction is absolutely critical. First-order change is just shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. You're changing something on the surface, but the ship is still headed for the iceberg. Second-order change. That's about changing the ship's course entirely. It's a change in the rules of the game itself, and that's what strategic therapy is all about.
So how in the world do you create that kind of deep, game-changing shift? Well, this is where strategic therapy gets really interesting, and let's be honest, a little weird. Let's open up the strategist's toolkit.
First up is something called the therapeutic double bind. It's like a brilliant piece of psychological judo. The therapist creates a situation where no matter what the person does, they win. They create a no-lose scenario where either choice, obeying the therapist or resisting them, breaks the old pattern and helps them gain control. It's pretty clever.
Okay, get ready for this one. It sounds totally nuts, but one of their key moves is to prescribe the symptom. They actually tell people to do the problem behavior. I know it sounds absurd, but there is a powerful logic to it.
Think about it. Imagine you're that couple who fights all the time, and your therapist says, okay, your homework is to have a huge fight for exactly 15 minutes tonight at 7. Suddenly, what was spontaneous and out of control is now a chore. It's homework. And to resist the therapist, what do they have to do? They have to stop fighting. The game is totally flipped on its head.
Another amazing tool is relabeling,
or as it's sometimes called, reframing. The idea here is simple, but so profound. You don't change the behavior itself, you just change the meaning that's attached to it. Change the frame, and the whole picture looks different.
It's pure Tom Sawyer. He took a boring chore, painting a fence, and reframed it as this amazing exclusive privilege. In therapy, that might look like relabeling a mother's nagging as her deeply caring about having a wonderful home for her family. The actions don't change, but the new label opens up totally new ways for everyone to respond.
So, you take all these wild, unconventional tools. How do therapists actually use them to change the whole family game?
Well, over time, a few different schools of thought popped up. Some, like the MRI group, focused on breaking those more of the same solutions. Others, like Haley and Madonna's, focused more on shifting power dynamics. And the Milan group looked at the family's deep-seated belief systems. But here's the thing, they were all aiming for the exact same goal: alter the patterns to solve the problem.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. Real, lasting change so often comes when we just stop trying to fix an individual person and instead we focus on changing the dance that everyone is doing together. When we understand the patterns, the feedback loops, and all those unspoken rules, we can find new steps, a new rhythm, and finally get ourselves unstuck.
And that's a really powerful question to sit with for a minute. What unspoken rules govern your relationships? And what would it actually take to change the game? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.